Hello and welcome to this Town Talk Sunday night episode special as usual. I'm your host Stephen Downs. With me as ever, the consummate professional that he is Mr. Kane Hall. How are we doing, mate?
Yeah, good mate. Thank you. I try to be professional as I can. Not always up
You
to
are.
everyone's standards, but we try.
You're very professional, and you have been very professional yesterday, in a very big way in the capacity of commentator on the Huddersfield Town v Emily AFC game. I was sat just in front of you. Stunning commentary. It was like listening to Guy Mowbray on the BBC.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, mate. Yeah, I'm sure it was.
But as obviously, what we're going to talk about today is the loss to Wembley yesterday, as me and Kane were at the fixture. We're hoping to be joined by Callum later on. Zach, unfortunately, is not be able to join us. But we're going to talk about Emily. We're going to talk about transfers. We're going to talk about the kit, because the kit was revealed last week. It's not this shirt, by the way. Obviously, this is an old shirt. I've not been that quick to buy the kit yet. And then we might go on to talk about a few little other bits later on. Please do get your comments in. Ben is already. Well, he was ready half an hour before the show even went out. So, yeah. So well done, Ben. Anyway, right. So Huddersfield Town were defeated 3-1 at Emily yesterday. It was a fantastic occasion. 1,900 people were up at the fantastic Media Welfare Ground on what was an absolutely stunning hot day. Up in the village of Emily. Firstly, Kane, obviously, just to reflect, we'll get more into what we thought about the game and the action, but it's really, really great, isn't it, to have a pre-season friendly where, the local club, as in Emily, get to make a lot of money out of the fixture with a big crowd there, which obviously helps them throughout their season and campaign. And really, it brings a lot of people in Huddersfield together.
Yeah, it certainly does, mate. One of them for me is when obviously professional teams going up against non-league sides. You always, as a non-league club, you always want the first team to be there because it is going to draw a bit more of a crowd. When it's a B team that goes, it's a little bit different. But I get it from the perspective from a professional side. You want to be playing in and around the competition that you're going to be in around. So when I say that, I'm talking about you're going to be up against other pros. The level is a little bit different. But I think for a first game of pre-season after a week, it would be nice to see more professional teams taking parts of their first team to non-league sides to, help get that bit of support. That afternoon on Saturday could help set Emily up for the season in terms of money coming in. Obviously, look, they'll get the sponsorships, and I think Emily as a club is actually run really, really well. They're doing a fantastic job up there. The academy that they've got has been brilliant for years, and now the first team is starting to see the rewards of it as well. They've got a business club, a 500 club, and this is all money that gets put into the pot to help a club like Emily succeed. And they had a great year last year, unfortunately missing out in the playoffs, but they were up towards the top in that top two for quite a fair while of it. But a weekend like what they've just had up against a pro team, we're going to bring fans. Again, it's a great start for them as a season, as a business, to bring that kind of money in.
Yeah. Obviously, it was the first time that we got to see some of the new lads in a Town shirt. Obviously, the club did what we did last year, and we played 3 30-minute sort of halves across the full 90 minutes, refereed by Town fan and professional referee Bobby Madley. And really, it was a good job that they had a break in the middle of the 30 minutes game because it was that warm. I think everybody was, taking on extra water. But the first 60 minutes were a mix of younger players, but also first team members. In fact, the first 30 minutes was pretty much all first team members. And then the last 30 minutes was a team of youngsters that from the academy, under 18s, under 23s players. Let's talk about the first sort of 30 minutes first. There was a lot of good football played. Town obviously took the lead through a nice worked goal, but Emily played their part for sure in that first 30 minutes with the defensive blocks that they were getting in the way, because Town did put a lot of pressure on, and it was nice to see people like Harness and the new lads, to give Town fans a flavour of what they might be seeing in the season.
Yeah, let's not forget they've been together for a week now, and that's for all the players bar Asher and Solomon. That's 30 minutes of football they just needed to do and get through. That's it. And them two players that we just spoke about, they're two academy players who, for them, they're all about what's happening behind the scenes that you're not really going to see too much, probably looking at loans for them. But that first 30 was tough for Emily. They were up, going, there is a bit of a slope there, a bit of a breeze for them. So, yeah, it was pretty much just sitting in. And what we were seeing was there was actually quite a high press on. Yeah. So the energy from the Town players, as soon as Emily had the ball in their third, going up towards the middle third, it was actually quite intense from Town. So it was, again, that's the kind of things that you want to see. But a week into it, how much are you going to see? You're not actually going to see a lot, but you've seen elements of things.
Yeah.
That you can go, right, okay, I get that. So when you look at it from this time last year with Michael Duff and now, were we getting that same kind of press? I don't think we was. And I think that's something that Town have lacked. Certainly the fans have probably wanted it a little bit more. So that kind of intense press in the final third from Huddersfield is a good positive, and I think that's something that the fans want to see.
Yeah.
There were chances in that first third that I think, that's got to be put away. But again, it's a week of football. It's a week of football. These lads probably not played for a couple of months. They've been keeping themselves fit in the gym, etc. But they won't have been kicking balls about that much. So it does take a little bit to get back into it.
Yeah. Michael Bottomley here says, great match commentary and summarising Kane. It certainly was great, but let's not make Kane's head too big.
No, I appreciate that, Michael, because there has been a few comments
there has, yeah,
regards it, and it's just a little bit disappointing. But thank you for that, Michael.
Yeah, no, I concur definitely with what Michael was saying. Also, Ian has commented, what formation did Town play? Was it very different to last season? Well, the answer is yes. Basically, I don't think many people sort of knew what Lee's formation was going to exactly be. But it was interesting when they first lined up, but it was a 4-2-3-1, which obviously pleased Kane immensely. And it also pleased me because it's one of my favourite formations as well. But it was interesting that how the formation was sort of deployed, Kane. On the right-hand side, Sorensen was very high up, where on the left-hand side, Miller and Ruskin, they were a little bit deeper, depending on which one went to full-back and which one played as the winger, with Harness then sort of floating around the number 10 and going into the second striker space. So the formation was very fluid, I thought, even though it kind of didn't come as a massive surprise, because obviously McKenna played 4-2-3-1 at Ipswich, and obviously that is going to be, I think, Lee Grant's sort of basic formation going into the season. So it was great that we got to see some sort of tactical element to the game on Saturday.
I think you're going to see a bit of a mix between the 4-2-3-1 and a 4-4-2, in all honesty, Steve, from what I saw at the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think you can pinpoint it down that what it actually is at the moment. I think you're right about the players' movement. There's going to be a lot of switching about and players helping each other out in terms of their role and what they want to do. I think you're going to see the fullbacks being quite high. I think you're going to see the defence spread out quite a fair bit. I think at times you're going to see three players back there. But with 4 defenders named, but I think at times you are going to see 3 back there. As you mentioned with Harness, I think you're going to see him out on the wing in the middle. I think it's going to try and be a formation that flows into different ones, to try and obviously get the best that you can out of the players that you've got on the team, and who you're up against. So I don't want to pinpoint a formation myself yet. I can see aspects of a couple, and I think they'll just go in between each other.
Yeah. One thing that we said a lot last season was how much work the fullback had to get through, because obviously they were basically wing backs and they were getting up and the length of the field that they were having to run. That's not quite the case though in this system, is it? Or didn't seem to be that on Saturday. Although Saturn, like you said, the fullbacks were high, but I suppose they've got more support now because of the type of formations that obviously League Graham wants to play.
I think what you find with Duff's formation last year was it becomes very narrow once you get past that midfield. So you've got a lot of space to press there, which again, I feel as if that's what most fans want, is a nice high press as well. It's where Town have been the most successful over recent years, and that's what fans can get behind. So when you become that 2, it's as 2 strikers, it's very hard work for you to press the width of the field and then the length of it as well on that half. Yeah. So to add, an extra forward player in and around that forward area to make it 3, whether that's someone from dropping in, the number 10 role, if there's 2 strikers and number 10, making it a 3 that way, or having 2 wingers on either side of a central striker, it really does help that. And that's right. I feel as especially in that first third, Town won the ball quite a fair bit in the Emley half. Again, I would expect them to do so, but also just because of the way they were set up as well. So there is that bit of a difference. You're not actually expecting your fullbacks or your wing backs like it was last year to go and press further forward and also get back and do the defending as well. They will do the press and they will come back, but they're not doing both at the same time. Whereas last year there was a lot of area, a lot of space where some of these players were having to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, Steve. They're a professional football, so they can do that work, but it takes it out of you regardless of the level of fitness that you've got.
Yeah. And like you said, I think, there's been, I know we're analysing the game now, but, I do think people were taking the game a little bit too literally yesterday. Obviously, it ended in defeat, but it didn't really, I don't think it means a lot in terms of the result. I remember Town going through pre-seasons where we've lost every single game and then had a really successful season. We've also seen us have absolutely horrific really great pre-season, and do horrific in the normal season.
The result stands, Town lost. But if you dissect it, the fact is that when Town conceded 3 goals, there was players who were aged 18 to 20, 21. Yeah. Some of these players had probably never played against men, and it can be quite daunting. The Will Oldmania felt as if in that final third that Emley would found a bit of extra steam in them and had a bit of belief. And that first goal, Joe Clegg, you a screamer like that goes in, you're up. You've got confidence. And when you're a young player up against that, you go, what's just happened? Because you're not expecting it. And I think that got the heads down of the younger players, but also got the heads up of the Emley players. And you can't take anything from that. I think I've taken 2 things from the final third. That young Max Murray, who played right back, has nice feet.
Yeah,
he's only 18 years old though, so he needs a bit of time to grow and bulk up. I think a loan for him somewhere this season would be ideal, especially in non-league. You probably want to be looking at National League North somewhere for a month or 2, see how he gets on. Because I like the way he played. And then on the left-hand side, you had Solomon and Asher, who I thought when the ball was down with them 2 looked pretty good. They looked like they'd played men's football. The rest of the players didn't.
Yeah, Asaya, Asher. Sorry, I thought he was the best out of the young kids.
Yeah, but the thing
Definitely.
this is it, Steve. You know, you can see that Solomon and Ashley they'd played men's football because they
Yeah,
were up for the fight. They was happy with that. They were doing that, but the rest of them hadn't. And regardless of level, look, non-league players are good footballers.
yeah,
All right, they are very good footballers. There's reasons why they're not pro. It might be injuries, it might be mentality, it might be attitudes, but they have got something about them. Believe me, and you've seen that with the first goal that they scored on Saturday. But playing men's football is so different. Take away that 30 minutes where Town conceded 3. Town go. It's 1-0. Could they have scored more? Absolutely. Should they have scored more? Absolutely.
yeah,
But is everything in flow yet? No, probably not. They're still working to get the fitness. Look, not that they won't have match fitness. They'll be fit, but they won't have match fitness. They're probably having to take in a lot of information right now in terms of what Lee Grant wants from them. So again, we've only seen 30 minutes of the players that are going to be involved this year. 30
yeah,
minutes.
yeah. With regards to some of the new lads, then obviously, is there anything that you picked up that you quite liked? You know, I thought, you know, Ledson did what he needed to do. He's obviously the type of player that you can put into any sort of fixture, and he just does his job. That's what I kind of got from him. But good on the ball, probably a bit better than Hoggy in terms of passing. I thought the young lad Feeney, Josh Feeney from Villa, I thought he had a great game, to be honest. I thought he looked really composed on the ball, both at the back and was a threat up top. Obviously, he got the Town goal that we scored. And obviously, we did, you know, Sean Rowan as well. You know, I thought he was composed. He's obviously the type of centre back that we wanted to bring in. That's good with his feet, and although not the tallest, although he's 6'1", but he's still not the tallest compared to some of the other lads. He looks quite stocky and can handle himself physically.
Yeah, I think the two main things that I was thinking about and reflecting on was that one is Ryan Ledson were given the captain's armband for
Yeah,
that second third. That speaks volumes on what he is about as a leader, as a player, and I think that's fantastic to see. But when you're a leader, it doesn't matter if you come to a new club or whatever. If you are a leader, you will go out there and do what you need to do, and I think that says a lot about him. I think that says a lot about Town signing him. And I thought it was try to get himself involved as much as you could.
yeah,
I thought Ruan has got a wonderful left foot. He is going to be very, very good to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing him because defensively he's solid. Loves a challenge.
yeah,
But he is technically gifted as well with the ball at feet. He's got a wicked left foot. I know he's trying to spray the ball quite a fair bit diagonally towards Spencer in that middle third, and it was going a little bit too long, but you're kind of going to get that. But I think if he plays further out wide, that diag that he's got on that left boot is going to be something. I really do think that technically,
yeah.
he's brilliant.
And Josh Feeney, how did you think he did?
Yeah, I thought Josh did well. Looks fairly comfortable on the ball, happy to be on the ball. I think that's one of the main things. And there's a lot of hype back there at the moment for Town. I know you said Ruan's not exactly the tallest, but just because he's 6'1", but he's got a leap on him as well. He will go and win that ball for you if you need to be. I think we're going to start finding him playing more to the left hand side rather than central. I think he'll do a little bit of both throughout the season. But for me, them two is what I picked up most about the new signings, and that's what really impressed me.
The other thing that I also picked up, which we saw last season, but I think we've kind of got to leave last season where it is, was still the fact that Joe Taylor looks quite isolated up top. He did a hell of a lot of running, and even though he's paid to run, don't get me wrong, but he did a lot of running without a lot of what I'd say adequate support. I still feel that we're missing sort of a big player up there that can hold the ball up and let the other lads that need to get up with play. be able to do that. I don't know whether that's something that you picked up on necessarily. He played
No,
with Freddie Ladapo in behind him when he was on, obviously.
I think what you get with Joe Taylor is he shows a lot of intent and looks like he wants it, and I think that's half the battle with some of these strikers at times. And you got a lot of that from Joe for them 30 minutes. But again, see, like we just mentioned, they've been in a week. Is he actually going to have a lot of support right now? Probably not, because you've got to build your foundations. Your foundations you build from the back in what terms you want to do. You get a shape. Now, defensively, you work on that shape, and then we can look at midfield, and then you can look into attack. By the time we get to the next game, you're going to see something a little bit different than what you've seen at Emley. One, because they'll have had more minutes on the training pitch. They'll have worked through more stuff. Now, an honest opinion of mine, this time last year, they looked like there was more options to pass for Town. But again, we're still a week into this. Like, we're a week into this. This is great having a Town talk on a Sunday talking about what we've just seen, but we've seen 30 minutes of each player, and we've seen a week's worth of training with a new manager. We're not going to see a lot right now, but in terms of things that needed to change, one of them is a higher press, and we have seen that. That just, you can't forget about it, because we didn't really see that much that last year, and that is one of the massive things that needed to change, and we've seen bits of it. Is it fantastic right now? No. Is it happening? Yes. Will it get better? Absolutely, I'm sure it will do. But in terms like what you're saying there with Joe Taylor, he's willing to do that work and run and be intense and look like he wants to be there, wants to be on the ball. Each part for him will come. It will come. I'm sure of it. If it doesn't, we'll all be disappointed, of course. But again, there's another 10 days now until Town play the next pre-season. We're going to see something different, I'm sure.
What I do think is important with a player like Taylor is that, and obviously, because we were both at the stadium you were there before me, but we were both there quite early, was that, I was watching players' body languages and kind of what they were, how they were acting. And certainly what I noticed from Taylor was that he seemed to be very happy pre-match, having a lot of laughs with the other lads, a bit of jokes and stuff like that. And for me, that these early games can really be a nice little foundation for how the dressing room can be built up under Lee Grant. And obviously, like you said, with Ledson being given the captain's armband, that's going to be a big part of it, I think, in terms of having more of a lighter touch in the dressing room, maybe not as much pressure on the lads, because there is pressure to go, let's have it right. But I think for me, that was a nice element of Saturday, seeing the lads, like Taylor, like Joe, even though Joe Lowe didn't play, having a bit of a laugh and a bit of a crack before the game.
Yeah, and if you just bring up Dale's comment as well, Steve, I'll just touch on it. He says that Ledson and Kane linked up well, so they've been together for a week. Yeah, it's a week. All the players are still gelling, Of course, you want to see smiles on faces. Look, even when it gets to pressure moments, you want to see smiles on faces. You want the players to be out there before a game, having a bit of a laugh and a joke with each other, because it means they're getting on well. If the players aren't doing that, it's not a good dressing room. But again, this is just first week in pre-season. They're getting out there. You want the players to have a laugh with each other, but then they need to switch on. And this is the difference, okay? It's okay looking at body language and all this kind of stuff before a game.
Yeah.
Look at body language in a warm-up. That if you want to look at that kind of stuff, look at it in a warm-up, because that is completely different to walking into a ground and walking onto a field. Because some people are just built differently. Some people are just so laid back and look relaxed all the time. Some people are a little bit more anxious and are a bit more, all over the place. But that's just the way it is. But get to the point where you're looking at the warm-up, do they look interested? And then on the field, do they look interested? That's a massive battle. Can you get them to do that? And I personally thought that all the players, they wanted that 30 minutes. everyone hates it when football season's off.
Yeah.
But they look like they were glad to be back. Whether it only, even though they were just playing 30 minutes and it was on a non-league field with a bit of a slope, they just looked like they wanted to be back out there.
Yeah.
I also feel as if that there kind of was no expectation on them. It just, this is how I felt it looked. Like there was no kind of expectation on them the first 2/3 to go out and blow them out of the water. It was more of a case of go get your 30 minutes in your legs.
Yeah. Let's move on from this the Emily game. Obviously, like we said, defeat 3-1, but it was good for Emily. It was a good run out for the Town lads, as Kane said. It's 30 minutes for the players that have got in the legs. Let's move on to something that was announced last week, which was the new shirt. Let's have a look at it here. I can put it on screen. There we go. So this is a very happy Joe Taylor, looking ecstatic.
It's his model face. Leave him alone. It's his model face.
That's his model face. God knows what my model face would be like. But I'll give my opinion. Now, I was fortunate enough to sit next to Jake Edwards at the Emily game, and I had a little chat with Jake, which was very nice. I did invite him onto the podcast, and hopefully, that opportunity will be taken up at some point in the near future. But I was saying, look, I like the shirt. I think for me, this is only personal preference, and I've had a lot of debate with the lads in the podcast chat about this. For me, it's not a Town shirt in terms of the thickness of the stripes. I prefer like the one that I'm wearing now. I think this is more of a Town striped shirt. However, I like the gold touches. Even the logo doesn't really bother me. And it's not even with Town kits. I hate logos on any football shirt. I just think it ruins them, really. But they've done it quite well with the logo. It does look quite stylish. Obviously, the gold badge and the stars on the back of the shirt. I like the neck. I think the neck's good. And overall, it's a decent first Town edition for Custor. I think it's decent. I will give it 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Ken, what's your thoughts on the strip? How did you think it looked on Saturday?
Yeah, I think the players look great. I like the black socks and the white shorts. I think it's quite a retro look is to have that, and the gold is nice. That's obviously you're paying homage. I thought the animation video that went out for
it's brilliant.
Was absolutely fantastic. It really was brilliant. Really good to see that kind of stuff. I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was quite touching. But yeah, the gold is key, and I'm glad it is. Everything's gold. I'm glad we're not just seeing the sponsoring gold and then the Town badge and the Custor badge in different colours. I'm glad that kind of thing is all gold. Obviously, that's what they're paying homage to the 100 years ago for the Thrice Champion. So yeah, I like them aspects of it.
And I think, like I said, the thing about the video is, we should be proud of his history, even though it's 100 years ago, and people take the mick that we only won it in a Farmers League and all the rest. End of the day, football started before 1992. Let's have it right. And it, Town were better than Real Madrid 100 years ago. Okay, it's 100 years ago, and there's not many people that are alive, if anybody, to say that they could watch that Town side. However, football is about history, and it's about people that played back then for the club and were proud to play for it, on not a lot of money either, let's be had. And so the club should be, proud of its history, and also, showing that pride as well, Kane.
Absolutely. Football is built on history. Clubs are built on history. Clubs are built on what people have done years ago. And I think, in all fairness to the club, over the last, I think maybe 4 or 5 years, they've done a fantastic job in terms of remembering them kind of players who were starting off Huddersfield Town over 100 years ago, then 50 years ago, and 20 years ago, 10 years ago. That I'm loving seeing a happy birthday to a player that I've never seen.
Yeah.
And a bit of a piece about them, or if players past, and we're learning about them. It's brilliant to remember that, and it should be remembered because this is what it's built on. You're right, yeah. Huddersfield Town were once the best team in the world because obviously the English Football League. I can't have seen anybody getting anywhere near it across the world because they were just that developed, and it wasn't a Farmers League back then. We've still got the same clubs playing in the league.
Yeah.
So, but to see the history stuff, I want to see more of it. I think it's fantastic. Again, like Kevin Nagel came across and he bought the was it Billy Smith's badges from winning the league.
The medals. Yeah, he bought the medals.
That's what it needs to be about. There's so many clubs who have great bits of history around their club that you can always see, and I think Huddersfield needs to be a continue showing that history and pushing it out more.
And to be fair, we do, we have been critical of the club at some stages in the last 2 years. However, one thing that I would say about Kevin that has always impressed me is that he has gone out of his way to learn about the real intricacies of the history of the club. And when something like Billy Smith's medals has come up, he's jumped on it and said the club need to have this within its, within its stadium, within its training ground. We need to own things like that proper memorabilia that mean a lot. So yeah, I think they've done a great job with the kit in terms of the remembering the past. I think they've done the video is one of the best things I've seen Town put out for many a year. I think whoever put that video together should be extremely proud of themselves because they didn't just do the modern day Huddersfield Town proud, the people that were involved in the club historically proud as well. But for me, the only thing is, like I said, is that the stripes are a bit too big. But that is a very
to complain about. And can I just state as well, I'm critical about things on the field.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's move on from the kit. Another thing that we had announced last week was the fixture list. So I'll get this next little graphic up for us.
You're getting good at this, aren't you, Steve?
Well, I'm getting a lot better at it. So this is the fixtures. Obviously, I'll hone down on some in just a little bit. Obviously, we play everybody twice. I mean, so
is that how it works?
Yeah, all right. I know you're being facetious there, but it kind of, when you look at fixtures, everybody goes, oh, and they really look into it and all that. And I always come out at the end thinking, well, yeah, we do play everybody twice. So does it really matter when you play them? However, looking at the months that we have and to analyse them a little bit, I think personally, September is a month where we need to be winning every game if we can. We need to win every game anyway. But September, I think, is a key month to build up points totals. But I also think October is a very difficult month with opponents that are going to be up and around where we want to be. So I'd say October is a difficult month. And I don't think it's the easiest start, to be honest, although I don't expect Leyton Orient to be as good as what they were last year. What were your thoughts on the fixtures overall, Ken?
I think Leyton Orient will surprise you, Steve. I think it's standard fixture list, to be honest with you. I agree with yourself and Terrier 9:30. That October going into November, them 6 games, that will make or break. That could make or break Town season. That's where we'll know where Town are at. If they get through them and come out good, with a lot of points out of that, Town will be fine for the year. If they don't, certainly be have to look into a rethink about how things are being done in the league. Through December. And then I'm talking about players coming in, I'm talking about formations, I'm talking about game plans. Is it all working? You've got to get through that October. August and September can be very steady. August is still part of pre-season and players getting sharpness and getting their way back into things, and getting that League One match fitness is completely different to what you're doing in pre-season. So give that a few games to get into. Some of these players will be in and out of the side. The manager probably won't know what his best 11 is. If there's a best 11, is he going to rotate? It looks like he's building a squad, or the club's building a squad. So you're going to see players in and out of it. September, you want to start seeing a bit of form hit. Obviously, you want to see form hit from August anyway, but September, you really want to see that form hitting. October, get through that, because that will be a tough one. Let's not forget as well, every single game at the moment is going to be a big one, because a lot of teams are tipping Huddersfield. Well, a lot of fans are tipping Huddersfield to be the favourites.
Yeah.
So when you're tipped to be the favourite, that's something else you've got to add to it. You know, people want to beat you because you're the favourites. And we'll show them. We'll show them. We'll beat them. They're the favourites. Yeah, whatever. We'll beat them. So they up the game. So Town have got to keep constantly doing that as well. So October will be physical and will be mentally draining on them players. And if you can get through that in the first couple of games of November, Town will be on for a good finish.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Like I said, I do think that we need to pick up a lot of points before October. If we're going to be definitely up there. But yeah, October's a key month. I agree with that. And the start of November, as you said. There is a lot of fixtures, obviously, over the festive period. I think we've got quite off well with the festive period, really. 2 home games and a couple of away games in the key period. But you always want to be home around Christmas, and I'm sure the players will prefer it to be a home around Christmas. Obviously, we got to travel to Lincoln on that January the 1st. But yeah, Christmas period again looks quite an exciting few games there.
Yeah, Christmas period is always good. And I think if you haven't noticed, most of the time your fixtures are in and around locally around Christmas, because they don't want people travelling too much, around that time of the year. They keep everyone fairly close together as much as they can. So I think that's important as well. And you don't know what the players are going to be doing around Christmas. You don't know whether they'll be spending all the time together as players or with the families, or a bit hybrid, because some teams will take the players away from the families and make them stay in. But as long as the players are happy and doing what they needed to do, festive period is always tough. We'll see a lot of rotation in there. But you also want to be seeing a lot of... this period needs to be a happy period. Not only because it's just a festive period, but because Town are winning games beforehand. So they need to be winning this, with no pressure.
Also, we play a lot of Yorkshire derbies this season. Bradford, Doncaster, Barnsley, Rotherham are obviously in there. So most of the fixtures, Kane, are, I believe, apart from 4, which I think are Plymouth, Exeter, Cardiff, and Leyton Orient, I think they're all within 2 hours of travel time for the fans. So it's a fantastic Northern League this year to go along with the Town's Northern football new stance.
Yeah, and you like to hope that, if Town do get the ball rolling, like, we all believe they can do, these away fixtures, they're going to be full of Town fans. They'll be selling out allocations, providing everything's going the way they want it, where they expect it. And, that'd be massive for the fans to be able to get to away games, because everyone loves an away game. Obviously, you want to see the Aku Stadium full as much as possible, but it's great to have away days where it's a packed out crowd, because the players love it. The fans love it. Players loving seeing away crowds packed out as well, and they'll appreciate that kind of support. So with it all being within 2 hours or so, again, another great opportunity for Town to showcase themselves everywhere.
First time since 2007, Kane, that we will play Bradford City in a fixture, a league game. Sorry, we have played them in the cup. I think it's twice since then. But yeah, I mean that was definitely one that I think a lot of people were looking out for on the fixture release day, was the 2 games against Bradford.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Bradford City supporters were, weren't they? They were trying to find out when the cup final was.
That's gonna get clipped up.
No, I'm only trying to get a bite. It's just a bit of laugh, but yeah.
That's all we after you.
Oh, anyway.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, look, it's a great, Bradford had a fantastic year last year. The second half of the season, they were absolutely brilliant. And the way they came up, that is going to bring so much momentum for them. And they've made some really good signings as well. They aren't going to be no slouches. There ain't going to be no slouches in this league this year. And when at Valley Parade, that will be packed. And it's going to be very, very tough for Huddersfield Town. And most teams that go there, you'd like to think that Town are going to have a little bit too much for everybody. Whether that's the case or not, we're going to find out. Let's hope so. But then West Yorkshire derbies this year, they're going to be something else. They're going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. On the same day as the league fixtures were released, we also found out our first Carabao Cup. Is it Carabao? Anyway, it's the League Cup fixture. We're in the first round. We got a home tie, so it started well, and then it got worse because we got drawn against Leicester City. Some people are saying that it's quite a good draw because, and I agree with this, by the way, I don't think Leicester are going to be very good this season. They're under massive PSR issues. There's rumblings behind the scenes there with the supporters and their hierarchy. They're not getting along at all. Players don't want to be there. So, to be honest, Kane, although I think I'm talking myself into what it might be a good time for us, to be honest.
Well, that kind of stuff can change within days, so I won't get too embezzled with that one. But you're probably going to be looking at Leicester thinking we want to go straight back up. So they'll probably play some of their reserve players, their younger players on that game. And it's going to give Town an opportunity to go through. Obviously, being at home is a massive one. But for me, again, you've got the Carabao Cup, which is, it's all right. You've got the most pointless trophy in the world, which is going to be an absolute waste of time.
Well, I was going to mention that next. In that trophy, we're playing Harrogate Town. We're playing Newcastle's under 23s or 21s, whichever it is. And we're also face Mansfield.
That's correct. And the fact that you're having to try and think of that tells you how pointless the trophy is. It will just be a waste of time for everybody. But you've got to do it. What did Town want to look at this year? First of all, promotion. That is what their aim is. Can they get to Wembley as well? In the FA Cup, no. In the Carabao Cup, no. In the Pointless Trophy, potentially. But does anyone really care about it? No, because they're trying to get promotion. So
you will if you get a commentary spot there.
Yeah, I will. But the point is that it is just a waste of time for everybody involved in that trophy. Look, it's fantastic because it gives lower league teams a chance to get to Wembley. I get that. But it's also just as a business sense, if you're a club, you're going, I'm going to have to open a stadium here for no more than 2,000 people to come in. It's going to cost me more than it is to not, because obviously, then also, don't forget, players get bonuses for appearances. And it's a fixture that they probably just don't want to play because it's more money going out with the club, all for, again, a trophy that no one really cares about.
No, I mean, last year we versed Doncaster, Man United, and Walsall was in the League Cup. Man United and Barnsley, we versed them in a lot of the fixtures. Kane, bar the Barnsley one because we actually played a proper first team, but definitely at Donny, it was a very, very young side that went there. I think Josh Ruffles and Matty Pearson were the two most senior players. I mean, we didn't take it very seriously last year, even though we got through the group.
Yeah, and I think the Barnsley game at home was one of the worst attendances Town have had.
Well, the Man United under 21s game was literally the lowest attendance ever at the stadium.
Yeah, there you go. It tells you how pointless it is, doesn't it?
I think it was less than 1,100, I think, was at the game. Somebody can put me right there.
A waste of time for everybody involved.
Ian says Leicester don't even have a manager yet at the moment. They're playing catch-up. They certainly are, Ian. So, were you excited just lastly for the fixtures, Kane, to come out? Is it a day that you get, on your phone? And I don't know why they announced it at 12. By the way, I quite like it when I wake up and see it at 9 o'clock. But yeah, I mean, it's a day I always think it gets you ready for the new season.
Yeah, sets you up, gives you something to aim for. Again, like the players, you know who you got first. That's your aim. For me, it's about putting all the fixtures on my spreadsheet in terms of where I might be commentating. So
Yeah.
it's a busy couple of hours once they come out. But for the players, for the club, it's an aim. It's your target. We need to be ready for this date for this team. Let's make sure we're sorted.
We'll end on transfers or potential rumours. But one thing that I did want to ask you about, which another thing that was announced, we got lots of announcements over the last week, was the fact that the stadium has changed its name to a local company in Huddersfield, who are actually an international company, but based in Huddersfield and have been for the whole history that they've been open. And it was Aku, which is a well-known firm, like I say, in Kirklees. Always nice, I suppose, to get a new stadium name, although it has ended the era of the John Smiths. Have you got any sort of favourite memories of it being called the John Smith Stadium? I suppose obviously the promotion season to the Premier League, I suppose that just stands out as the beacon, really, doesn't it? But there's been lots of great matches played under that name.
Yeah, it certainly has. One for me were Jordan Rhodes scoring against Luton in the playoff semi-finals.
Yeah,
That was, and losing my voice on commentary. I was on my own. I could barely speak with that last 10 minutes, and seeing all the fans going to the pitch was brilliant. But now we feel like we're talking about like it's not going to be there anymore. Let's focus on the fact that there's a new deal here for the naming rights of the stadium, which is superb. Again, more good work that the club's doing to get this kind of stuff in, this kind of deal with. There's an issue at the moment with the Kirklees Council allowing Ken Davey to build a stadium, and that is quite an issue. I'm sure they're going to be working hard to try and figure it out, but they keep going back and forth and back and forth. But the idea is that Huddersfield Town want the stadium, and that's final. So getting the naming rights to a stadium you own is money straight back into the club. It's just a little bit awkward at the moment because Town still don't own the stadium yet, due to Kirklees Council keep changing their mind with what they own and what they don't own and what they want to do and what they don't want to do. So as soon as that's sorted, this deal will be fantastic for Huddersfield Town.
I mean, people will say, well, it's just a name change, but I think with this one as well, because it is a local Huddersfield company, that's great to see as well, isn't it? We've not just gone for, I don't know, the IMAX Stadium or whatever, big brand. They are a big brand, they're, like I said, international company, but because it's local to Huddersfield, I think it just means that little bit more. And it's a 5-year deal up until 2030.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what you're seeing is that it's the local business that are coming to support your local club.
Yeah.
And it's a massive thing that the chairman wants to do is be a community. Look, you'll see it as you watch the videos that they do and the YouTube stuff, which I thought the one that they did the other day was brilliant as well. I want to see more of them. Gives you a real insight to things that are going on. But he talks about community a lot. You've got to work together with each other, and having someone local come and support the club is going to help the local area. So a local sponsor coming in and doing that, all right, okay, so now the football club needs work doing in this part of the stadium or there. So where we're going to go? Well, we'll go somewhere local because they're our sponsor, so we'll work with them. So that's going to, generate more money in that business, who can generate more money into the more local businesses, and that might go into semi-professional football because they've earned a bit of money. So that then might go into grassroots football as well. And it's all just work. You've got to keep working together in that local area, which is what they're trying to do, which is one of the best parts of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that the sponsor on the shirt is different, but again, that's when you take things completely different. Okay, so now you've got an American brand where you're trying to branch out to different countries, but also, Huddersfield Town, hey dude, where do they play? So they play at the Aku Stadium. Aku, what's Aku do? So there you go. So then you're helping that business grow even more. But that's a local business that you're helping grow with different kinds of sponsorship. So it all works together in a very interesting way And the fact that it is someone local doing such a big deal there for Town is brilliant.
Yeah. Just finally, then let's look at some rumours, transfer rumours. We are supposedly going to be signing the young goalkeeper from Crystal Palace on a loan. He was at Wimbledon last year. He's called Goodman. Supposedly, Kane, his medical's been done. The deal is signed. We're just waiting for maybe Crystal Palace to sign a goalkeeper themselves, which moves then the chain on. I suppose that'll just get done when it gets done. But other rumours are, Galbraith at Leighton Orient, Nathan Lowe at Stoke. There are other young loans that have been mentioned. A young lad called Morehouse at Man United. Where do you think Town need to just sign a couple more players, mate?
It's a really tough question, Steve, because again, like we said towards the beginning of the show, and something that was asked in the comments by Ian was, what formation Town playing? Because I can't really tell you that. I can't really tell you what we're aiming for right now. There's a lot of people go, "Oh, we need a strike force." No, we don't need a strike force. We just need the players we've got to work together and create lots of opportunities. It was very obviously that in the back that needed to be bought, and they've done that with Feeney, being brought in Low and Ruhan. That's 3 defenders that Town needed. And they needed someone a little bit creative on the wings, potentially, because Sober Thomas hasn't played for Town for the last couple of years, but he's now off the books, but you've also let Josh Karoma go. So you're having to replace kind of players in certain areas at the moment. Ledson coming in midfield, who everyone's calling as a replacement for Jonathan Hogg. So again, it's a tough one when you don't really know what formation Town are actually going to be playing yet. We have his ideas, we have his thoughts. What that's going to be, we don't know. So for me, I still think Town lack wingers and potentially creative players. Herbie Kane does a great job sitting in there. Ledson will do a fantastic job doing that. Evans, I think, is a bit of a box to box. So he can do that. Harness is in between from what we hear, the 10 and the wing. So, but then after that, who's playing on the other wing kind of thing? Is it going to be Ruskin and Miller now, who are seen as wingers? So does that mean potentially we need to look at another right winger? Are the striker who's going to be playing striker? You're going to expect Joe Taylor to be in there every time. Dion Charles. Then you've got Healy who will come back from injury. Radulovic. You've got Ladapo. Are these players going to move on? Are they going to stay? But at the moment, they're still in the books. You've got to look at them as Town players currently. Potentially, I would be looking at some kind of maybe definitely a winger, creative player. But again, you get that way with Galbraith from Leighton Orient. If they can get that over the line, that would be an unbelievable signing. That really will be a fantastic signing for Town. And then again, then it's the other one with, Lowe might come in on loan from Stoke. Again, another great signing. What you have to get to the point is, because Town are trying to build a squad here, they have to get players who are good enough to challenge the next person. So will Lowe challenge Taylor? Yes. From what we saw last year, will Radulovic and Ladapo challenge Joe Taylor and Dion Charles? No. From what we saw last year.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to. We can't see we can't see what's happening in training.
No.
They might come back as completely different players, and I hope that is the case, because they need to challenge the players that are out there. This is the thing. Build competition to get the best out of your players. Ruhan, Feeney, and Lowe, all at the back, are going to challenge each other with Wallace and Balker as well.
Yeah.
There's going to be some tough decisions to be made at the back.
100%. And Reece Healy as well. We don't know what's going on with Reece Healy.
Some of these players are coming back, steady. Their preseason needs to be a little bit different to others, especially with recent injuries. So some of the preseasons will be different. But again, Healy he can put that ball in the back of the net.
If he wasn't injured, I don't think he would be with us, because I do think he's a really good striker. But because he's so injury prone, that's why we were able to buy him. Anyway, in the comments, James plays games. I mean, that might be the best name ever. He's said Evening, lads. Are we affected by the 30th of June PSR deadline? Could explain why we haven't announced people. From my knowledge, James, I mean, every club is under PSR rules. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it affects, unless you're Birmingham, I don't think it affects League One and League Two clubs as much. There's different set of financial rules, but most players' contracts do end on the 30th of June, and then the new contracts start on the 1st of July. So, next week we might see some more action. I think Town are probably going to go for people that we might have to pay a bit of money for now, and obviously those deals do take a little bit longer to get over the line. Let's hope that we can pull some of them off. But thanks,
Steve, just on that one, don't forget that Town have made a lot of announcements over the last week.
Yeah,
in terms of sponsors for shirts, the shirt coming out. You're looking at the different sponsors for the shirt. That's 3 different sponsors. Then the shorts as well. Then the shirt coming out. The fixtures coming out. What fixture is this? The first game of pre-season. There's a lot of things that Town have been already putting out and been planning to put out. Sometimes it's better to just wait that little bit longer. Now, tomorrow it's the deadline for the season cards.
Yep.
In terms of before the prices go up, so maybe not expect you might. I don't know. Obviously, you might get one out because it might entice you to buy a season ticket. But again, it has to fit right with everything. Don't forget, like a question's coming. Do we know when the away shirt's coming out? No, we don't. But I expect it to be coming out soon. So that again, there'll be more announcements for that. So a lot of this stuff will be set in stone. With terms of announcements coming out, like we've just had with the fixtures and all that kind of stuff. So we've had to get that out now for the first pre-season game. There might be a bit more of an opportunity for them players to be announced if there's any coming in. And as the chairman keeps saying, there's still work to be done here, and he's doing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's the thing. You have to be fair to Kevin. He's putting up the money to bring in these lads that Lee Grant clearly wants. Right, I think we'll bring the show to an end there. Thanks everybody for getting in contact throughout the show. Really appreciate your comments. We've had over 70 people watch the show today, so that's really good numbers. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, thank you very much, Kane, for joining us on the podcast. But well done again for commentary the other day. Don't let the haters get you down, mate, and just keep your chin up. Keep doing what you're doing. And I look forward to seeing you on the BBC one of these days, genuinely. But you do a great job, and I really appreciate you coming on and being the main man on this podcast as well. And so yeah, that is appreciated.
No worries, buddy. Thank you for the nice comments.
It's all right. I'm sure you can return some next week to myself. But anyway, as it is. Have a little think to yourself. You've got a week. As it is, you'll hear Kane on HTTV and the Town channels across pre-season. The pre-season games are continuing to happen. But as I said, thanks for everybody tuning in. Thanks for all your comments, and we'll see you very soon for another fixture. I didn't mean to show that comment again, but never mind. Right, see you later, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.